I'm no expert in this, but when I talk to colleagues at the Australian Olympic Committee, they have a real confidence about how well we're positioned from a whole range of perspectives. You know, we have a good track record as a country of being able to run major events. It's in probably the right part of the world, coming back to, you know, the southern hemisphere. You know, all of those sorts of issues can be in our favour. There's some good infrastructure there to already leverage, and some significant infrastructure needs, particularly around transport, that need to be solved at some point anyway. So being able to leverage the Olympic Games for that is one way it can do real good. And look, I know I'm biased because I'm in sport, but I think it'd be a great thing.
Oh, I think it would be amazing. I think you're right. I think it would inspire a generation of athletes coming through. I mean, we're going to Paris, Europe, then we're off to LA, North America. It would be time, wouldn't it, to come back to Oceania in the Southern Hemisphere. Peter Conti, thank you so much for coming in and for giving us some insight into the AIS and what you guys do, but also the awards tonight. And good luck to all the nominees.
Pleasure to be here.
Stay with us here on Fox Sports Tonight. After the break, can future Waratahs' success be found in the Sydney Smoke? New coach Rob Penny joins us for a preview of their upcoming Super Rugby season next.
Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break.
Welcome back to Fox Sports Tonight. Great to have your company. Let's talk a little bit of rugby because the 25th season of the Super Rugby is less than 2 months away. And, well, the teams are getting well and truly stuck into their pre-season preparations. One of those is the new look New South Wales Waratahs, especially when it comes to their coaching staff. And I have the new coach with me right now in Rob Penny. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. I bet you didn't think the biggest challenge you would have coaching the New South Wales Waratahs would be the smoke. The smoke haze that was around today was almost unbearable, but for a footy side to get out there and train must have been tough.
Yeah, well, we've taken a lot of advice, obviously, from the medical specialists, and they're telling us that although it looks terrible at times, there are big windows where the air is quite safe, and obviously we're never going to compromise the men that we've got. And so, you know, there are times when we have to, you know, be more cautious, but it's not affecting us too badly. It's nowhere near as bad as obviously the people that are dealing with it day to day out on the rural areas.
Yeah, you bang on. It's a great sentiment, isn't it? That you know, here we are in the metro cities and we're doing our thing, but there are those out there doing it a lot tougher than us. What about this role? How are you enjoying it? Have you settled in?
Yeah, I've had nearly 2 weeks now, and on the ground I've had 6 or 8 weeks prior to that correspondence while I was still in Japan, and yeah, look, just already have developed a real passion for the boys. I can't speak highly enough of the way they work and the way they're operating, and you know, their desires to do something a bit special as a group is wonderful, and it's very stimulating as a coach to be a small part of that.
Coached all over the world, you understand, I guess, what Super Rugby means to New Zealand particularly. It means a lot here too in Australia. New South Wales Waratahs have an air of expectation about them when it comes to performance in the Super Rugby competition. Do you feel that challenge, that expectation?
Well, any external expectations are going to be nowhere near as big as my own. So it's not a burden for me. Everywhere you coach, there is an expectation of success, and this will be no different. Obviously, New South Wales is the flagship rugby organisation, without being arrogant, of Australian rugby. And it's really important they are at the forefront of not only the tournaments they play in, but also developing the youth and driving as many of their boys into the Wallaby setup and making Australia rugby strong. So I may be a foreigner, but I'm very, very passionate about trying to meet that goal.
Well, your compatriot Dave Rennie is about to start as the Wallabies coach, I should say, and I'd imagine, I'll ask you in a moment, the emerging relationship that you'll have with him as well. 2014 was the championship for the Waratahs. I was lucky enough to be in the crowd and watch that. 60,000+ people out there. Bernard Foley knocking the ball over and winning that. Amazing. It's been a long time between drinks. Can you get him back there? Can you get him back in the realm of winning the championship?
Yeah, look, who knows where what the future holds, but that's the goal. And what I've seen from the individuals, you know, you need talent, you need work ethic, and you need resilience to create obviously a dynamic culture with that end goal in mind, the compelling vision that will drive us all there. And we've got all those elements at the Waratahs, and it may take a little bit of time to build to that end goal, but I certainly believe it's achievable, and I know, you know, I'm well supported with a great coaching staff and management team, and they're all aligned in that thinking.
I guess we understand that nothing happens overnight, and your experience, you've come with a number of things that you want to implement. The systems that were in place, have you unravelled all of that? Have you started with a clean slate, or are you working with what you've inherited?
Well, Steve Tandy and Chris Whitaker obviously are remaining in there, and there's 1 or 2 other staff members that have been there. So it's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater totally. I guess we are making some changes, and there's been some other staff changes with Matt Cobain coming in, and he's a fantastic asset. Mark Bell, who's a legend in Australian rugby, has come in. So there has been some changes, there's no doubt about it, and there's been, I guess, a few philosophical changes around the style of the game, and trying to, not that Gibbo and his team weren't endeavouring to play a traditional brand for the Waratahs, but Waratahs would be known for being expansive, enjoy seeing the ball being used by the athletes, and we're going to endeavour to bring that back I guess, to a far greater level with the Waratahs and making the crowd really proud of what they're seeing and being a part of.
That sounds really exciting. Just on Mark Bell really quickly, he's come in as the scrum coach, obviously. His son Angus is in the squad, is that right?
Yeah, Angus is still under 20s this year.
Yeah.
But, Angus is such a lovely young man. Belly and his wife have done well there to bring up, a wonderful young guy. And there are people like young Angus and his cohort, that age group, that are all coming through together, that are the future of the Waratahs.
Yeah.
And without doubt, they should be aspirational Wallabies because they're good enough and talented enough, and we've just got to try to create that platform for them.
Absolutely, yeah. The junior Wallabies have been going extremely well. Let's go from juniors to seniors. You've lost a little bit of experience coming into the 2020 season. The likes of Bernard Foley, Adam Ashley Cooper, of course, and Israel Folau, unfortunately. Has that experience been felt as yet?
Without doubt, there will be an adjustment. There always is. And that leadership is going to leave a void, and now it's up to that next tier to step in and fill that void, and we're seeing it. Guys like Ned Hannigan, are really making a difference. Carmichael Hunt, really tremendous while the Wallaby players are still absent. Have, as I say, stepping up into that void, and that again is a wonderful thing to see, these young men taking over and taking responsibility of what the future is going to look like here.
I've got to touch on the Israel Folau saga. The settlement came this week. I think most people in the rugby world took a sigh of relief. Does it feel like that distraction's gone now for the squad? They can move on and just focus on the future? Yeah,
well, to be fair, I guess I've been outside of that in terms of that whole process, and nobody's mentioned it. I think there's been as you say, a sigh of relief and amongst the rugby fraternity, sick of seeing it in the media, and it's behind us all. And but to be fair, there's no distraction at the Waratahs with that issue.
When do you get your Wallabies back?
They're coming in for testing on Friday, which they'll be looking forward to.
Yeah.
And
skin folds, I bet.
Oh, there's a bit more to it than that. Yeah. Hopefully it's not too smoky. There's some running. And then one or two of them are going to stay on and do some work with us. A couple of them who have had heavy workloads during the Wallabies campaign are going to have a bit of an extended break, which they need. And then they'll be back to us after Christmas.
Yeah, nice stuff. Looking forward to seeing a couple of those boys own their positions again. Michael Hooper, Kurtley Beale, and great to see Carmichael Hunt re-sign as well. I've got to ask you about Dave Rennie, newly appointed Wallabies coach, compatriot of yours. Have you had a relationship with him in the past, and are you looking forward to forging that as you go throughout your coaching career as well?
Yeah, well, I do have a relationship with Dave, and it's always been a strong one without being an interpersonal one, I guess. So we've had a really strong working relationship. Dave's a really good man and a great rugby coach, and he'll do great things here. And the relationship between, obviously, as I said before, the Waratahs and the need to get that seamless transition between the Waratahs and the Wallabies, I think it'll be very effective between us.
It sounds like it's going to be an exciting future, exciting season for you and the Waratahs. You kick off on the 1st of February against the Crusaders. Good luck. Good luck for the rest of the pre-season as well. Thanks for joining
Wonderful.
us.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you, Rob.
Okay.
Really great.
Pleasure.
Okay, stay with us here on Fox Sports tonight. We chat exclusive with Darcy Lussick following that quick knockout of Justin Hodges. Stay with us.
Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break.
Welcome back to Fox Sports Tonight. Professional boxer Darcy Lussick joins us in a moment. 1 from 1 he is, and we'll catch up with him in a second. Okay, let's get the latest headlines. Tom Wilson is here with us, and a little bit of cricket to kick us off, Tom.
Yeah, got a wry smile from me and a right smile from Darcy. Your comments there. Looking forward to that chat. We'll just get you up to date with the latest headlines. Australian coach Justin Langer will name an unchanged lineup for the opening test match against New Zealand. Langer also hit back at suggestions he's underestimating the Kiwis ahead of the first ball on Thursday.
Well, maybe you haven't, but we have, because we're playing them on in 2 days' time. We've got an unbelievable support staff who are all over. We know a lot about BJ Watling, and we know a lot about Kane. We know a lot about the New Zealand team. Yeah, we won't be taking any of them lightly, even if you think they're going under the radar a bit. Not in our world, baby. They're not under the radar. We're ready for them for Thursday.
Patrick Reed is expected to play the role of the villain at Royal Melbourne, but has denied any wrongdoing in the cheating scandal that has dominated the build-up ahead of the President's Cup.
It's not the right word to use. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, whenever you're out there, if you do something unintentionally that breaks the rule, it's not considered cheating. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. I mean, if you're intentionally trying to do something, then yes, that would be considered cheating, but I wasn't intentionally trying to improve a lie or anything like that. Because if I was, it would have been a pretty good lie and I would have been able to hit it really close. They're not supposed to talk good about us. We're not supposed to talk good about them leading into this event. I mean, that's normal, but at the end of the day, all I can do is control me. And what comes out of my mouth, I can't control what comes out of others. It just turned in from now all of a sudden wanting to beat those guys to now turning personal, so it's going to be a fun week.
Certainly is. Another captaincy change in the AFL with Marcus Bontempelli named the new captain of the Western Bulldogs.
It was an incredibly humbling sort of experience to have the announcement today, and it doesn't take you long to probably reflect on the past leaders of the football club, particularly obviously Woody's sitting here as the previous skipper of the club. It's it's an incredibly humbling feeling to be recognised in this way, and hopefully I can do my best to lead the group in the way that they need it to be led.
And Russia has been banned from competing or hosting all major sporting events for 4 years following serious breaches of anti-doping policy.
This is a ban against Russia that protects the rights of Russian athletes by allowing re-entry for major events to those that are able to demonstrate that they are not implicated in any way by the non-compliance. The decision is designed to punish the guilty parties and send the message that it will not be tolerated. It stands strong against those who cheated the system while protecting those who did not.
Are you worried that through legal loopholes they might be able to find a way in and appeal the system and therefore still compete?
No, I don't think so, because they're jug cheats at the end of the day, and the neutral athletes will be competing and they are from Russia.
That's the latest from the Fox Sports newsroom, Matty.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, Sally Pearson not mincing her words. They are drug cheats at the end of the day, according to Sally and Russia. Let's move on. Darcy Lussick has done it all on the footy field, but it was an adventure into the boxing ring last Friday that had him out of his comfort zone. He joins me now. Darcy, out of your comfort zone, a little bit nervous, weren't you? We'll talk about the result in a second, but a bit nervous before the fight on Friday.
Yeah, it was... I was a bit nervous. I'm used to walking out into a crowd with 16 other people with me to play a game of footy, but by myself. But once I got out there, I was fine, and there was nothing I could have done. But get into it.
You can't achieve a lot in 39 seconds, but that's exactly how long it took you to knock out Justin Hodges. The fight was called off. It was your first ever fight. The result itself, what about the relief and elation after it was all over?
Yeah, that was the main thing. Looking back, I was pretty excited, wasn't I? But to do it and to do it so quick, I was just happy that I got it done. And sort of those 6 weeks of really, really intense training and the pressure I put on myself to have that finally lifted, it was good.
We've spotted a friend of yours in the crowd. We'll get to that in a moment. He was very excited as well. There were quite a few of your excited friends in the crowd. The preparation for this, it's been tough, hasn't it? Because it's been a type of preparation, a physical preparation that you're not really used to.
Yeah, I started about 6 weeks ago, so it wasn't new to me, but a lot of the training was. It was just so intense, and a lot of times I'd go home asking myself if I'm ready for this, am I going to embarrass myself? But just with boxing, I feel like your preparation just has to be 100%. You can't take any shortcuts at all. Your diet, everything. But yeah, at the end of the day, I got it done, so I'm stoked.
How did it all come about? Because obviously, did you go looking for it?
No, it's sort of a couple of years ago. I was meant to fight, but I got injured after the season, so I came back now, and I was actually just at home and got a phone call asking if I wanted to take on a boxing match, and I'm here until January. So I thought, well, me and Sydney, probably not a good mix with nothing to aim for. So I thought, why not get stuck into it and make the most of my time here.
A great way to distract yourself, isn't it? Let's go and get our face smashed. What about the boxing strategic side of things, the technical side of things? Because it's not a sport that you can just pick up. Did you have any experience? I hate to say it, but I've seen you throw a couple of punches on the footy field.
Yeah, I just tried to learn sort of the basics. We went in there with a really simple game plan. For the whole 6 weeks, we probably only really tried to practice, 3 or 4 punches, not getting too technical or too carried away. And yeah, one of those punches we were practicing landed, so I'm pretty stoked with that.
Did you talk to Justin afterwards, after the fight?
Yeah, I just said thanks for the opportunity. At the end of the day, he's the big name. That's why they got all the interest, because I was fighting Justin Hodges. So no, he was great. All during the presses and everything, he was fine. So I wish him well for whatever he chooses to do next.
Well, we know you're going to keep playing footy because you're contracted to Toronto Wolfpack. We'll get to that in a moment. But what about the boxing side of things? Has it changed your mind in regards to whether you can do this or not, or whether there's a career for you here?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at having another fight. Just sort of, I don't know what the timing will be on that, but ever since I finished on Friday, I've had a few offers from people calling me out. A few different promoters have contacted me about fighting in the future. So I guess the best thing about the way that fight ended on Friday night was I have options now. So we'll just have to sit down and see what happens.
You've just beaten a league star, a Queensland legend. Is there anyone else? Maybe someone from another footy code?
Yeah, I guess there's a couple of people, isn't there? But we'll just have to sit down and...
With the initials BH?
Yeah, Barry. I heard Barry Hall was looking for a fight, so I know after the fight I tossed out his name. So
Give it a go?
He'll give it a go, yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not?
Well, there you go. Okay. Maybe you and Barry Hall. Okay, let's have a look at your mate in the crowd, because there's kind of a conflict of interest here. And we know you've been very close friends with Daly Cherry Evans for a number of years now. Of course, your ex-Manly Warringah Sea Eagles teammate. But he's also the captain of Queensland. And lying on the canvas right there is the assistant coach of Queensland. There he is, Daly Cherry Evans, absolutely in your corner. Is that fair enough?
I can't confirm if that actually is him, but we'll go along with it.
Definitely.
It is? Okay.
Was he there?
No, he wasn't there.
No?
No, he wasn't there. He wasn't there, but he, he wasn't there.
Oh, that's outstanding. Let's talk about some footy, because you head back to Toronto Wolfpack in January for another pre-season. Do you like it over there, the system? You're based in Manchester, is that right? And you're kind of to and fro between a couple of weeks in Toronto and then back to the UK?
Yeah, I love it over there. It's just at the start of the year the climate's too harsh in Canada. We're under snow there at the moment, so we spend the first part in Manchester. Play sort of all our away games, and then once it warms up in Canada, we head over there. And during the summer, it's beautiful there. It's a good lifestyle. We have a great team, a great club, and we've got some great supporters. So this year's shaping up to be a pretty big year for us. We've just been promoted into the Super League. Have a bloke called Sonny Bill joining us.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that. I mean, you've played against him in the NRL over the years. How's he going to go?
I think he's going to go really well. Success seems to follow him. He seems like to be the ultimate professional. He's a fantastic player, so he'll be really good for us. We have a lot of young players in our squad, young English players. I know they're pumped up to see a bloke like Sonny come over and, for all of us to learn off him.
Edge-back rower, traditionally in the NRL, is that where he's going to end up, do you think, again?
I'd say so, yeah. I'd say so. So maybe I might have to go out there for a little bit and look for some of those offloads.
Yeah, that's right. Mate, you could benefit from it. What was the initial reaction of the players when they heard that you were at Toronto Wolfpack? They heard you were signing Sonny Bill?
Yeah, I don't think anyone believed it to start with, and once it got confirmed, it was still a little bit of shock. The Sonny Bill was going to come and join, our little team over there in Canada. So. Yeah. Not really many people sort of heard of the Toronto Wolfpack before, but everyone knows about it now.
I'm just thinking about you guys asking for a pay rise as well. Darcy, thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations last Friday, and good luck for the rest of your Super League career as well. And we'll catch up with you soon, maybe for your next bout.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
OK, stay with us here on Fox Sports Tonight. Plenty still to come after this short break, including just why Australian football public may have one regret after Ange Postecoglou was let go. PFA CEO John Dideluzza is with us next.
Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break. Sky News will be back after this short break.
Welcome back. Ange Postecoglou made history last weekend, becoming the first Australian to coach a Division 1 side outside of the country. Professional Footballers Association CEO John Didalitza, however, says the achievement has cast a shadow over Australian football. I caught up with him for an explanation.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I think clearly you lose somebody with that level of expertise and that deep connection to the game here. It's a loss for the sport. One hopes that him having left actually inspires, a generation of coaches to follow in his footsteps and to invest deeply in their own development. But more broadly, it gives Australian football a chance to reflect a little bit on what Ange was seeking to achieve and hopefully try and actually build a broader vision for the game and anchor the game in some deeper values, as opposed to just looking at the next game, the next result, the next outcome. If we can really build out a broader vision for the sport, what we want our national teams to be, it then gives our coaches, our supporters, our players a compass, through which to navigate what is a really challenging sport, particularly globally.
I don't want to go too far back into the past, but why do you think the Australian public turned against him at that time and essentially lost faith in him as a Socceroos coach?
I don't necessarily think the Australian public lost faith in Ange. I think where there was a disconnect is that the game institutionally didn't see the value in building a long-term strategy and embedding itself into the psyche of Australian sport. I think one of the challenges Ange faced was he did have a grand vision for the role that football could play within Australia and how that would manifest on the pitch. And that vision probably increasingly became a singular vision. It became detached from where the game was heading in other areas. So once he saw that there was a misalignment between where he was heading and where the game may have been heading, he probably opted to take a different course. Now, ultimately, that's for him to articulate and to explain. But clearly, if you have the courage to articulate a really challenging vision, take people out of their comfort zone, you need the game to come along with you. And clearly, that didn't happen whilst he was coach of the national team for long enough, and the game's the poorer for it. Not necessarily because he didn't take us to the World Cup or isn't still the national team coach, but that we lost somebody of that intellect and with those values from the sport, and we just don't have that luxury of losing such high quality people to our game.
Well, as we've heard over the weekend, he hasn't been resting. He's only been gaining more experience and more understanding of the world game of football as well. So will he return, and how do we potentially get Ange Postecoglou back within the system?
Yeah, I suppose that's, given the economics of world football, it's literally $1 million question now. He may have transcended what we can economically afford here in Australia, but Ange's connection to the game is very visceral. One of the anecdotes that I relayed on the weekend was how his connection to the game here was through his father and the connection and bond that they built as father and son through football. Ange also spent a lot of time with the the iconic footballing figure Ferenc Puskás while he was the coach of South Melbourne. So he is a person with a sense of mission, a sense of history, and that's really the type of narrative we need to start building within Australian football. I think too often we are self-conscious about the way we position our sport. We need to be bold in how we position football. We need to be very proud of the role that football has played in building a wonderfully successful multicultural nation, about the amount of footballers who were part of the Anzacs back at World War I. We really have a rich tradition that's inseparable from this nation, and Ange gets that, and we need people who get that to drive a vision for this game.
So what's the message, I guess, in terms of public opinion, public support for our current coach of the Socceroos in Graham Arnold, and future coaches as well? What have we learnt from all of this?
Yeah, I think it's clearly the national team coach and the national team captains are the most prominent and important spokespeople that we have. I think the less we hear from administrators and the more we hear from coaches and players, the healthier the game is. I think you can see with the way Sydney FC is going at the moment that Graham Arnold is incredibly capable of building a dynasty. He's capable of building a team that can transcend his own involvement, as we've seen Sydney go from strength to strength. So Arnie has that capacity to build a vision for the sport, no question, but it can't be left to just one person. I think it's incumbent on the football community to legitimately come together and start articulating what the game means to so many people within Australia, and take a leaf out of Ange's book and allow that to manifest out in the park. Be aggressive, be proactive, be positive, and take pride in who we are. Be bold in our ambition.
Absolutely. Well, let's go from coach being one of the most prominent positions on the field to captain, of course, and Mark Milligan. News we hear only over the last 48 hours that he's retired from international football. Big loss, isn't it? He had a big impact in the 80 caps that he represented Australia in.
Yeah, I think when we reflect on Mark, we'll see somebody who was undervalued whilst he played, and somebody who's made a contribution to Australian football that will go well beyond his immediate playing career. He captained the country, obviously, since the departure of Mile, and his ability to have had a sustained career over the best part of 15 years is incredible. You know, to be part of the 2006 World Cup team, to have won the first A-League title back in the same type of era, to do a similar thing a decade on with Melbourne Victory as captain, to captain Australia.
يا فرحان الذي يستعد لتنفيذ التماس. ربما الحكم شاف بأن فرحان يتأمل إضاعة الوقت. جميع الأحوال